regulatory agencies, and a host of other subjects like that on that series. If you are joining us for the first time today, I will encourage you to go back to our previous videos to check this content online. They're on our Facebook page. So thank you once again for joining us this afternoon. And this afternoon we have a guest in the studio. I'm not just here today. I have with me Eyitayo Ogunyemi. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. I'm privileged to be here with you today.
Thank you so much. So this afternoon we'll be talking about business continuity. Remember, I started by saying that we started a series some couple of weeks, almost a month now, talking about what's next after business registration. So this is still a part of what next after business registration, because after your business is registered, that is not all that has to be done, or that is not where the journey ends. It's just the beginning of the journey. So this afternoon we'll be talking about business continuity. And I believe that at the end of this conversation, you will have a very in-depth knowledge on the topic of today. So permit me again to welcome our guest, Eyitayo Ogunyemi. And Eyitayo Ogunyemi is a lawyer, is a business coach. So we have an expert. I can say we have an expert in the house this afternoon. He's an author. He has authored 2 books in print. He has a lot of books, but we have 2 books in. We have with me here, Think Like a Lawyer, for business owners, executives, and leaders. So if you're a business owner, I recommend you get this book. And also, to part of what we'll be talking about this afternoon, business continuity. He has also authored Structure Secret for Startups, this book. It's one book I'll encourage and highly recommend for all business owners. So he's going to talk more about this book, so you can have an idea of what to expect in this book. So let me start by giving us a background. So why we decided to talk about business continuity today. So recently, a friend of mine, our boss at work, passed on, and before the boss passed on, we've had to discuss about our workplace. And sometimes during the course of our discussion, she hinted me, or she gave me a gist of how the business revolves around our boss, and sometimes when it's not even around, things sometimes has to be on hold until it comes back. The management of the business. In one of our series, we talked about sole proprietorship business, and one of the things we made mention of the fact that when you are a sole proprietor, the general belief is that the business revolves around you, the finance, the decision making, and all of that revolves around you. But in our other series too, we also talked about that. We also had a conversation where we talked about the fact that even when your business is a solo business, you can have structures in place such that when you are not around, the business can still continue. So this is just going to be like the background. So we'll be discussing against this background this afternoon, and that is why we have Eyitayo Ogunyemi to help us like dissect and just pieces all of these concepts into pieces for better understanding. So thank you for joining us once again.
I'm privileged.
All right, so let's start with them. Can you just tell us some few things about this book?
Okay, so Structure Secrets for Startups. I would love to start with a storyline. Most times people think that you need to be a giant. You should have arrived before you start putting structure in place, and before you can start having that big posture to your customers. Now, what this book does is it debunks that thought, that ideology that you must be big before you start acting big, and that you can even achieve the same thing that those you look up to, the brands you look up to, even public companies. It gives insight on what they do that you can do. You do not need to become one before you start putting those structures in place. And this eventually is what even hates profitability. So if you want to be profitable, these are secrets, these are strategies, practical insights that makes the difference for your journey. And just as you said, I'm very passionate about the subject of continuity, and I'm eager to share my thoughts around this subject with you today.
All right, thank you so much. So back to the story I started with. So This friend of mine, when our boss passed on, and I had to ask her, so what is the fate of this business? Especially based on the fact that this is a business that is being managed by our boss fully. When it even comes to client sourcing, client engagement, they don't have any personal conversation with client. The only thing they do is, oh, we have this work, just do it. The work is, instructions are given to them. So they don't even know half of their clients. So even if someone comes after the man's demise to say, oh, there was this contract between myself and your principal, or we had this work ongoing, they had little or no knowledge about this thing. And a week after their boss passed on, everybody was just at home trying to figure out what's next. So as an expert in structuring business and all of that, one thing I've come to realize is that one of the fears of business owners is the fact that, will this business survive me? And even while some people have been proactive about it, trying to put structures in place like you have in your book Structure Secret for startups, while some people have been able to put structures in place to the effect that once they pass on, or even when they are sick or anything, the business can still keep going as a concern. We've also seen cases where some people also prepare even in their lifetime with they already have this understanding that once I pass on, that's the end of the business. So that's their own structuring. Some people structure their business they have this kind of structure that once I'm gone, the business is gone. While some people are able to structure their business to such that even after they've gone to the world beyond, the business still continues. So what can you say about business continuity? What does it entail?
So thank you once again for allowing me to be here with you. Now, business continuity is, in summary, is much more about being intentional with your business. It's about understanding that the business is not just there for you. You need to have a larger reason for running a business, and that larger reason is what is known as purpose, the mission, the vision. What's really about the business that people can buy into? What's really about the business that you can then also build a team around, so that even your team members too, they understand that they're not just resuming, just the example of the case you just gave, they're not just resuming to get the work done. What's the culture system around or behind the resumption, the getting the work done? So team members, even your clients, even you, everyone needs to come to that understanding, that awareness that what the business you're running is not just for the sake of feeding you, it's not just for the profit. There has to be something more to it, and that's locked up in what is called the culture. What's the culture you are building? So there has to be something more than we're just making money here. What's the culture you are building that people can buy into, can key into, and such that the culture now is bigger than you? So everybody is buying into and saying, well, we're happy to be a part of this, and this is what we are selling. And a whole lot of other things, corporate governance, how you get your job done. I believe we'll get into all of that.
Yes, thank you so much. So one thing that I can really hold on to is that you should be intentional. So you don't just start business because you want to make money, because you want to put food on your table, or because you want to be employer of labor. We have people, like, everybody have different reasons for going into business. But whichever is the reason, one thing is you have to be intentional, and you have to have a purpose. There must be something driving you. That's one of the key things they talked about. And you also talked about building a culture too. Yeah. Can you expatiate on that?
So building a culture is what differentiates you. I'll use an example. This is one thing I also use when I'm teaching my students. That let's say I wanted to leave my house now. I had a need to prepare pepper, and I wanted to go get pepper. What would make me leave my vicinity and go all the way to a very far place? Let's say Oja Onigbo, to go and get pepper. There has to be something. Think of it. Before somebody would call and say, I want to patronize you, there must be thousands of other people doing almost the same thing. What's that thing? What's the unique selling point? What's that thing that differentiates what you are doing such that they bypass the thousands of people and come to say they want to patronize you? So it goes beyond these customers are patronizing me because of me. And that's the error. Many entrepreneurs build businesses where customers are patronizing because of a person and not because of the system. Now, the moment you are able to understand that you are different from the brand and begin to create that separation so that there is a system and there is a person, and the person is within the system and not that the system is within the person. So you find that when the system is within the person, the moment the person goes, the business goes with the person. But when the person is within the system, even when the person passes on, the system is able, it doesn't mean that, oh, they won't, of course, we are human. There would always be the period where everybody is sober and all of that. But because there is a system, actually, even the people that are carrying on, they carry on because, yes, this is the system we've had in place. Come see the example of a system like Apple, which unfortunately is a global system. People buy into that system because it is a system. So the personality of Steve Jobs was there, yet the system of the brand was also there. So when Steve Jobs moved on, when he passed on, the system was still able to carry on. And that's what entrepreneurs should try to understand, that there has to be a culture around what you do. And to build that culture is about understanding what's the unique selling point that you bring to the market. How do you infuse your USP, your unique selling point, to getting results for your clients? How do you infuse it to your products? How do you add it to your services? And some of these things are already captured in my book, Structured Secrets for Startups. I know time will not permit us, but it's a fantastic conversation that people out there need to pick up and also learn about.
All right, thank you so much. So, one unique thing about what you said, the summary of what you said is that as a business owner, you need to have a culture. And this culture, it demands that you separate yourself from the business. So it's not a case of, oh, people patronize you because you are the one doing that business. It is your face, such that when you are no longer in that business, or even when you need to expand, because starting a business doesn't mean, or no one starts a business with the mindset that they are going to be limited to a particular location. Your business might grow to an extent that you have to even expand beyond the shores of Nigeria. So if you are in another jurisdiction, another location, now you need to set up branches and all of that. You can't be in all these branches at a time. So it is the culture, the system that is in place. That is what is going to determine whether or not that business is even going to thrive in these places where you've established business. So I'll still recommend again that you get the book Structured Secrets, so you can have a more robust information. And I also understand that one of the things that you also get when, like the add-on that you get when you purchase this book, is that you have access to it. I know he often organizes one-on-one sections. So once you get this book, I can assure you that you have the opportunity of asking him questions based on this book, and you can be assured of getting more and well-detailed, tailor-made information concerning your business. So still talking about business continuity, one of the things you talked about when you start talking about culture is the fact that you need to have a culture in place such that the team are even able to, like your team, your employees now, they are able to understand this culture, and they are able to utilize it, make use of it in their day-to-day transaction. So this is to say that your culture, the way you are able to infuse employees into the business, is one of the things that will also determine whether that business is going to continue or not. So this will now lead me to another part again. So talking about business continuity too, like the scenario we started with, my friend whose principal employee passed on. So I know that one of the challenges when we, because I was just trying to guide her and try to suggest things to her that she can um propose to the family members, because this is a business that by the time she gave me a profile of the business, I was like, this is not a business that should just go like that, because they have asset facilities. Even the facility they use, that's the office premises. It's not a small premises. I got to know that it's a self-owned, like the premises belongs to the business owner. So the issue of paying for rent and all of that is out of the equation. So the only thing they need to they need to really spend on is on funds that needs to be used to carry on their daily activities, salaries, operations, and all of that. So the issue of landlord, we're going to have issues with landlord, and it's a structure in a very good place in Lagos State. So I was like, okay, you guys can talk to the family members if they have people who can like come on board and all of that. And I know there's also a place of regulatory agencies or even provisions of the law that talks about even how a business passes from one person to another. So can you shed some light on the place of the law? You're a lawyer, so we also have that advantage. So it's not just a business coach, he's a lawyer. So can you just share some light on the place of the law and regulatory agencies on business continuity?
Thank you, Damola. So recently, there was this friend and client. I call him friend because, of course, it's somebody that we're together for a period of time, who had an issue. His father actually passed on, and the challenge was that the business, just about the same thing, this same example you just gave, fantastic business. The business has been growing, booming, and all of a sudden the brain, the key person behind the business, passed on. And this became a problem such that they couldn't even bury the man. Things couldn't be done, no access to accounts, and it happened to be company account.
Yeah, same with this.
And you know, being a company account, the process is slightly different from, it's a personal account, and then we're just doing this, we're doing that. So there was a whole lot of issues around it, such that they had to start consulting here and there. How do they approach Corporate Affairs Commission? And you know, that one is even quite interesting because, well, it happened to be a private company. But what of public companies where the brain, let's say the brain was already able to build the corporate brand, and they've gone public, they've done their IPO, they now have their shares quoted on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and yet the key personality, something happened and there was no proper organization. So it's a whole lot of stuff to be done. And first is to deal with that kind of situation. I believe we are speaking with people that are still building their business. So first is there has to be that proper corporate governance. And corporate governance is not just about how you structure the brand. It's also about how you structure your relationship with the organizations and agencies of government that are applicable to that business. So in essence, we talk about the very popular one that everybody knows, the Corporate Affairs Commission. Are you the only person on your board? What happens if something happens tomorrow? And this gets back again to the issue of one-man limited liability company. Because as much as that's it comes with its benefit, people also need to look at it from the angle of planning, succession planning. So what happens to that? Now, we're not saying it's a crime for you to be a solo runner on the way you structure and all of that, because now I've identified that once there is this demise, it becomes a problem to relate with agencies. How the people, the loved ones, how they are going to change all of those things, and they will not have access to anything, even salaries. I know of a case where salaries couldn't even be paid because nobody had that access. So a whole lot around that. And then the first we've now said is there has to be proper corporate governance. You have to structure your board. One other thing that can be done, which is a very creative thing to do, is to then, even if you want to do your solo run, you can have like a deliberate structure where there is a corporate entity that is like, look, I am putting myself in this corporate entity. All that I own, this corporate entity, I am passing it to this corporate entity, such that the corporate entity, even if when you pass on, the corporate entity can, with the ownership it has, it's easy to deal with things. It's just by through the paperwork of you're doing a resolution, you are doing this, and then you would have tightened all of this with necessary documentation. It could be your personal will you are putting in addition to it. It could be some other things. These are possible things that you can do, especially when it comes to you structuring for continuity, having in mind that you have agencies, government agencies that you're also accountable to.
All right, thank you so much. So permit me again to refer to the book Structural Secret for Startups. I know there was a time I was going through the book, and one of the things that that is contained in that book is operations manual. So yes, so can we say, because talking about the concept of operation manual, I will just implore you to just give our audience a tip of the iceberg on what operation manual is all about, and if it has a role to play in business continuity. Because from my understanding of operation manual, it's just like having, just like you said, a list of how things are done in your business. So it's even one of the ways you can save yourself as a business owner, such that when an employee is out of the system, so we're talking about you as the owner of the business now going out of the system. So the place of the operation manual is such that when an employee is out of the system and you bring in a new employee, so it's not just about you having to like keep keeping them up to date, or having to start all the talks and all that has to be done, or that has to be said about how you run your business. So talking about this operation manual now, does it have a role to play in business continuity?
Oh well, it does a whole lot, and unfortunately the information we have out there is just the rubbing on the surface kind of information, where people will say, oh, operations manual, this is what operations manual. Look, operations manual can be used very strategically, very creatively, with high creativity, such that you use it to structure well and strategize, position that brand for continuity. When you get out there, you see literatures, you see articles, you see stuffs. What they really get to talk about are the surface information of operations manual. You use it to, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. But nobody is talking about how you can use it for continuity. And the tip, just as you mentioned that we should give, I'll just give one of those things that is well captured in this book. How an operations manual, how you can infuse your culture into your operations manual. So what I mean is this. Let's say, for instance, that our culture is to get is to be timely. Now I'm just thinking off my head, right? Let's say that our culture is we deliver results 24 hours and we're running a logistics business, right? How do I infuse that culture to every part of the business? So when we connect with the client on phone, how do I infuse that culture of speed to the way we do our phone conversation? When we get the job done itself, how do we infuse the culture? When we update the customer, how do we infuse the culture? When the customer has a problem, a feedback, which may be bad, oh, I have this complaint, how do we infuse the culture? So operations manual is just one of those things,
Yeah.
which is captured in this book. Operations manual need to go beyond, oh, this is how we get our jobs done, to this is how we actually build a culture. This is how we build a reputable one, something that anybody can get into and will not drag the brand back light years, 1,000 years back, to the crude way of them getting results, or where you now have to be the one holding your colleagues by the hand and saying, this is our culture, this is how we get results, this is how we do it. So a very practical thing, and that's one of the very key things that you can use to get results and build something that would last beyond your period, even within the business.
All right, thank you so much. I believe our audience out there, like, we've really been having a great time this afternoon. So we are fast, like time is fast spent, so we have a limit to what we can discuss this afternoon. So I will encourage us to drop our questions in the chat box. If you have any question for Eyitayo, we'll attend to everything. And if you also need to have a one-on-one conversation with him on your business, on structuring your business, how you can effectively manage your business within the bounds of the law and all of that, so you can just drop a comment in the chat box and we'll get back to you. So finally, on today, what advice will you give our audience, our viewers out there, on what they need to do? I know you've said a lot on what needs to be done, so in just one word, what do you think they can do to avoid being caught in the web of a failed business or a premature winding up?
If you permit me to share too.
All right.
The first, I will beg the audience, amiable audiences, please share this video. There are a whole lot of insights locked in this whole thing that we've discussed today, and what you can do is to help other people out there. So of course, share this video. And then, to my parting gift for our audience, I want to beg of you, I said this earlier on, build a business that is purposeful. Build a business that is intentional. I've had this conversation before where I tried to explain how, and it's one of those things captured in my book, Structured Secrets for Startups, how many people out there are looking for how they can join a system, not for the money, but because they're just in love with that system.
Yeah.
And you can build that kind of system. So it's not like people want to join your brand because of you, but they want to join the brand because of the system. And so remember, you apart, the system apart. You have to be inside of the system. Don't let the system be inside of you. And it's what we see with many entrepreneurs out there, building their own brand, right? Because yes, you are also a brand, but building your own brand at the detriment and then infusing the corporate brand inside of you, we are not saying it's entirely bad, but you have to learn to prioritize the brand, and at some point get to the phase where the brand is standing alone and you're standing alone, and those two are not mixed up and then confused by it's like I've even said more than
Yes.
so I hope you picked that, and
Yes.
I hope it was.
Thank you so much. We've really had a great time this afternoon on Your Business with Accent Nominees. Permit me once again to talk about this book. If you are just joining us, so most of the things we've been talking about this afternoon are things that you can find in this book, Structured Secret for Startup. So it says that tested strategies to create a business structure that works. Like there are lots and lots of testimonies about this book. So I will encourage you, if you are out there building a business that will last, you should get this book. So thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back again next week, Monday, on Your Business with Accent Nominees. Thank you.